This show was not created by a medical professional. It was done by one man and his guests on the show talking about their struggles with mental illness. If you are having thoughts of suicide or in a state of distress, reaching out is the first step towards safety. Call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255 or text TALK to 741-741 to text with a trained crisis counselor from the crisis text line for free 24/7. If you know someone who may be at risk or struggling with depression or anxiety or any mental health issues, please follow everything in the description below to help those that are in need. Life can be so very rough.
Sometimes I get sad. What do you do when you get sad?
This is Something Gives with Josh Ronquist, a show from the mind of someone dealing with mental health issues, wanting to talk about life, mental health, and music with musicians, fans, and those in the business.
I want to feel good about myself, and I don't know how.
How do you not be sad?
I'm here to spread the word, to talk about our struggles and what we can do to get better.
I'm responsible for my own happiness. I can't even be responsible for my own breakfast.
While this show cannot cure any mental health issues, sometimes the mind just needs to not feel alone.
There's a lesson here for all of us.
So let's begin the show. Hey everybody, this is that drummer guy here with Something Gives with Josh Ronquist. And it's been a while since my last episode, hasn't it? Roughly about a month. And it's been a bit too long probably, but there's also been a lot of stuff that's happened to me. Some good, some bad. And I'm still just trying to organize things in my head, because this year has really taken a toll on me. It's been hurting me in a way I didn't think was going to be possible. And despite all of the good that has happened in my life, this has been the worst year of my life. And it's not easy to say that, because it feels like I've grown so much as a person over the last 6 years, 7 years. I feel like I've really grown. But that's, I guess, just what's in the cards right now. And as of recording this, as of me putting it up July 2nd, I really hope that things will take a turn for the better, because I really need that. I need that so bad. If you've been following up on the previous episodes, you know what's been going on with me. And in the last month, like I mentioned, a lot of bad stuff has happened as well. The biggest thing, I will say, is just about 2 weeks ago now, my mom was almost declared dead. What happened was, I got a call from my brother's fiance. I'm still not sure on the terminology of what to say now that my brother's gone. Ex-fiance, I mean, they never really broke up. I'm not sure of what the nomenclature is for that. But anyways, the person that my brother was engaged to called me and let me know that my mom collapsed in a casino when they were trying to celebrate my brother's fiance's birthday. There was paramedics on the scene, and they could not get a pulse on my mom. Her blood pressure was so low that I guess they declared her dead, but then they were actually able to find some kind of pulse, and they got an emergency helicopter, and they took her all the way over to by me. My mom lives in Wisconsin, and they flew her all the way out, and she almost died on the helicopter. She almost died in the casino, and this was under a month from my brother's funeral. That would have... It's unthinkable. How could you imagine that? Having your brother die unexpectedly in a horrific way. I won't go into the details, but what happened in the hospital, to me, was horrific. And of course, with him being the biggest cause of my mental problems, I still don't know how to feel about that. There's part of me that is so relieved that he can never hurt me again. There's the part of my brain, which many people can completely understand with PTSD and trauma and depression, looking back at your problems and not being able to get past them. So in a way, he's still there, still haunting me. But to lose him, find out some horrific things that I'm not going to discuss on this show because they're not my stories to tell, but they're horrific things that I can't even wrap my mind around. That happened. And then get a call saying your mom might be dead, all within a month of my brother's funeral. I don't know what I would have done had that happened. And I will say right now, thankfully, she is alive. So thankful for that, but there's many, many things wrong with her right now. For one thing, her white blood cell count was astronomical. Which, if you don't know too much about science, I'll just explain it in very simple terms. When your white blood cell count is too high, it starts destroying the body. There's so much more that goes into it, but this isn't a physical health show, it's more on mental health. Plus, I can't really get into all of the details, I'm just not that smart. She's also anemic, which means that she has a lot of similar traits to hemophilia, where she could bleed easy, she doesn't have enough blood, her blood is bad, and it doesn't have enough iron. She had such extremely low blood pressure. I don't remember the exact numbers, but she was basically 1 or 2 heartbeats away from flatlining completely. And the other thing is, I'm completely forgetting the name of it, scientific term, but in layman terms, she had a gigantic ulcer in her intestines that was preventing anything from passing through her system. And all of those things combined nearly put her body out of commission. And they did some life-threatening aspects that my mom has done, which I imagine she has not been eating well since my brother has died. Since the last time I saw her, she looked like she lost half of her body weight, which really, really scares me. I'm thinking part of it might be because of the ulcers in the intestines, and I think the other part is, how could you possibly want to eat after something like that happens if you're in good relationship with someone like that? Thankfully, I'm in a position right now with a loving girlfriend who makes sure that I eat every day, whether I want to or not. She's always looking out for me, and I don't know what I would do without her. But getting back to my mom, it looked like she lost like half of her body weight. She wasn't able to pass anything through her intestines and everything, and thankfully they were able to get her on that life helicopter, take her to the hospital in the Twin Cities, and they were able to save her life. She was in there for right around a week, and she is now in an assisted living facility. What will that mean? I'm not entirely sure. There's many different ways that this could go. She might be going back to her apartment. She might be staying at assisted living. If it was up to me, it would be option B. Because my mom is in a state right now, especially when I saw her at the funeral, she was having the hardest time taking care of herself. And if no one was with her that day that she ended up in the hospital, she would have died. And who knows how long it would have been before anybody noticed. It kind of reminds me of the Steven Wilson album, Hands Cannot Erase, where it's taken inspiration from, but not a complete concept album, but he was very much intrigued by the idea of a story that happened in the UK where a woman, normal woman, worked a normal job, had normal friends, lived a normal life, died in her apartment, and nobody saw her, knew that she died, or found her body for 3 years. How could something like that possibly happen? That seems unbelievable. Like something like that could just never happen. But it's a real story. And while I don't think it would have been 3 years, I don't think anyone would have found my mom for at least a few days. I'm still not on the best terms with her. I'm not sure if I ever will be. There was many things that happened in my youth, my teenage years, my adult years, that I just simply can't forgive. Maybe I'll get into that road at some point and discuss it more, but I think I did a pretty good job of explaining it in the first episode, so if you want to go back and check the very first episode of Something Gives, that'll give you a good idea of the relationship my mom and I have. But I did try to be the good son, the last son that she has in her life, and be there at the hospital for her. My girlfriend and I went there. We stayed there for several hours. There was at least a couple hours we were there waiting in the ER, not knowing what to do. And then we went back up to the desk, and they were saying that my mom needed extra time before anyone could see her. She was there, but she needed extra time, and I'm not going to go into graphic detail, but I think you'll be able to use your imaginations when I was saying before that part of her problem was ulcers in her intestines was preventing her from having anything pass through her system. She was finally able to pass things through her system, so they needed to clean her up. Then I saw my mom. She looked like she was on death's door, and it scared me so bad. It really did. And it's a haunting image when you see one of your parents in the ER, going to ICU, not knowing if they're gonna live, despite your relationships. I'm amazed that I even went to the hospital at all. I could have easily just said no, hung up the phone, be done with it, but there's still a huge part of me from my youth, be it Stockholm Syndrome, trauma, PTSD, there's so many different things that it could be, where I still just want to make my family happy. Not everyone in my family anymore. There is a couple people in my life, my dad and my other sister, not my oldest sister, I want her in my life, but my other sister, half-sister, I'm okay with never seeing them again. One I went into part of detail with, but again, it's not my story to tell. And with my dad, it also involves some issues that I found out about that I can't go into detail because it is not my story. But you add those two things from each side, and then plus all the things that I personally have dealt with them, and I'm okay with never seeing either of them again. Funny enough, I went to the bathroom because my stomach pretty much just dropped when I got to the emergency room. I had to go to the bathroom, and my body decided to purge because I was under the impression that I just lost another immediate family member in less than a month from my brother's funeral. And while I was in there, my dad actually called me. He didn't think I was there. He wanted me to try to be a good son and be there already. Funny enough, I was already there. He didn't go see her. Of course, they're divorced, so I can't imagine why he would unless he wanted to show that kind of support, but considering that he has someone else in his life, I can't imagine he would do that. But he asked me to keep him updated. I said no. I gave him the reasons that I never want to speak to him again, and I hung up on him. That might be the last time I hear his voice. It might not. If it was up to me, it would be. As hard as that is to say, because of so many issues. But, yeah. But on the lighter note of all this, she's okay. She's in assisted living. I had been checking up on her until she got into assisted living. Just wanted to make sure everything was going to be okay. Make sure I didn't have to go to the hospital again. Maybe I'll go see her. It's hard for me to say that I would or not. Mainly because the way my mom's mental state is, it's not good. And there's been a lot of hurt that has happened, which I know that she can't really apologize for, but it's always in the back of my mind, and you just don't know what to do with it. But I was keeping up with her until I know she was in assisted living, I know she was going to be in good hands, and she'll be okay. That's about all I got with that part. Now, there's been a lot of good things that have happened too. I don't want this to just be negative, although I feel like this is going to be a bit of a roller coaster because there's some topics, at least in smaller doses, I want to get into. But on the positive note, when it comes to the side of that drummer guy, I have hit 600 interviews, which is incredible. I love that under 8 years, I got 600 interviews, and I mean, it wasn't until the last several years where it really started picking up for me. When I was able to start working from home and doing interviews over the last 4 years, that's when everything started to pick up. Otherwise, I was constantly going from Wisconsin to Minnesota, constantly going back and forth to do interviews, which is not an easy thing to do, money-wise. It was a 3-hour round trip every time, it's just like, it starts to get exhausting, especially if you're doing that a few times a week, which I was starting to do that because everything was starting to pick up with that drummer guy. But now that I pretty much do every single interview from home, I'm doing fantastic. I love that I've been able to talk to musicians that have not been in Minnesota in a very long time, or may never come to Minnesota. And I'm able to do so much of that. Of course, when I'm able to, maybe I'll be able to again at some point, maybe I won't. When I go to festival shows and I'm able to do my recordings, in person, of course, I want to be able to continue that. But when I'm able to do so many from home, it just makes life so much easier, and I love doing it that way. Also, coming up a month from today, because I am dropping this on July 2nd, and I'm recording this in the early hours of July 2nd. That's just my time schedule. A month from today will be the 8th anniversary of that drummer guy, which is pretty cool. I honestly thought this would have lasted a couple months. And that's kind of where the things are going to be going a little bit downhill from here, but, towards the end of the show, I always want to try to keep it positive and looking at hindsight and stuff like that, but yeah, this is where it's going with that drummer guy, and I think just my life in general. I'm just not there. I'm hurting really, really bad. And as amazing as it is that I've hit the 8-year mark of that drummer guy coming up a month from today, incredible stuff, I feel hollow. I feel very empty inside. And I shouldn't at all. When I do interviews, I've consistently heard from so many people that I am one of the best interviewers in music. Very much an unknown, underground interviewer. I am not of the blabbermouth elite, although they have occasionally put my stuff out, which I could not be more grateful for, but I don't have the numbers that blabbermouth pulls in every single day. I don't have the Metal Injection numbers, I don't have Brave Words, I don't have Metal Sucks numbers, Toilet of Hell. I don't. Don't get me wrong. When I look at the analytics for thatdrummerguy.com and see how many page hits I get every single week, it blows my mind seeing the number that I get. And again, it is so modest compared to those numbers. But I am so proud of the work that I've done as one guy. But again, I feel very hollow when it comes to that. I think part of it comes from my life changing in so many different ways, shapes, and forms, especially this year alone. And I am just trying to comprehend it. I don't know if I'm ever going to play drums again. I want to. I would love to be able to get a house someday and be able to play my drums every single day. Soundproof that room, play to my heart's content. Somehow, some way, I would love to make that happen. But I know I'm probably never gonna be in a band again unless I do a one-man project. I just think that there's been so many burnt bridges with past band members, both my end, both their end. Every band situation was a bit different, but it always, somehow, someway, came to me having a very strong opinion about something that I'm morally or ethically against, and sticking to my guns. For better or for worse, that is what I do. I think it's a way of rebellion for me because when I was growing up, there was so much I was told that I needed to do. When I didn't do it, I used to get beat. I used to get physically, mentally, emotionally harmed in so many different ways. Ways that are just unthinkable, things that I probably won't discuss on here for libel. Though I think the people in question really couldn't sue me, but that is just a road that I do not want to go down. But anyways, it's my way of just trying to be able to live my life and stick to my guns and not give in. Again, for better, for worse. For better, I'm not doing something I hate. I never want to hate playing drums. I never do. And even though it's been gonna be coming up on 3/4 of a year now since I last touched my drums, surprisingly enough, not the longest amount of time I've been away from it, but long enough to have an effect on me emotionally. Though I do have an electric kit, but I just have not had any desire to put it back up. Maybe I will. Who knows? But the whole band situation just took a lot out of me, especially the last one, where I really thought everything was going in the right direction, and just one conversation led to one big argument and two sides that were not willing to back down. One person on one side, one person on the other, butting heads, and that was the end of the band. From what I understand, the other member of the band is still friends with the person that I was in arguments with, which I get. They were friends before I was in the picture. Sucks we can't be friends. At least that's the way it feels. I don't know. Yeah, I think now that I'm thinking about it, loneliness is a huge part of the way I'm feeling right now. Like I've at least mentioned on a couple shows so far, I work from home. And this and everything I do with that drummer guy is my life. I work from home, I work doing this. Amazingly enough, I do not do anything else. I don't work for another company of any kind. It's just me. And there's so many perks to that. You can work your own hours, set your own rules, do what you want to do. But when you work from home, especially when you own your own business and you work from home, the biggest thing that people don't tell you that comes with it is the isolation, the loneliness. And it's nights like tonight that are really hitting me hard. I'm pretty much down to 0 friends in my area. I have tremendous friends online. I have some amazing friends on Facebook that have really gotten me through some hard times, whether they help me out once, whether they help me out every single time they see that I'm doing rough. I can't thank them enough. And some people will see it as whining when I mention it online, but just like the whole point of me doing the show, I find it as a sense of purging. And one other aspect before I get into other things, it helps people. And within the last month, I've had a couple more people come up to me and beg me to help them find a reason to live. One that was close to my life, one that was there occasionally, and actually a third that I didn't know wanted to be a part of my life in any capacity. And yeah, within the last month, I've had 3 people, all random parts of the day, some in the afternoon, some early evening, some late night, that reached out to me. They know my pain. They know what I've been through, whether they've listened to the show, whether they see my posts online, whether it's just me admitting that I've tried suicide, that I have these mental struggles. They know I'm still here. They know I'm still trying. And they were begging me, telling me find reasons to live. I'm not going to mention any names, but some people, they've had some really rough times. Some people just can't imagine their life getting any better than where they are. Some people thinking that their best years were behind them. Some people, they got into some problems and they don't see a way out. And again, with this whole show, getting into my struggles before I go into the end of those stories, I know it can be confusing, but please bear with me. This is a one-take show because I want to be as authentic as possible. I'm just about that low, and it really, really hurts. Thankfully, with my medication that I'm currently on, fluoxetine, if anyone is interested in that, I will not say it's going to work for you, but it is working for me. It might be an option that you don't always hear about. You hear of Zoloft, you hear of Prozac, but fluoxetine might be up your alley. If you're interested in it and knowing that it's keeping me from wanting to commit suicide, it might work for you if you want to go down the medication route. But anyways, I'm just about at that level of wanting to end it again. But I'm not there, like I said, because of the medication. I think is a huge part of it. And I think I've just been through so much in the last 9-10 months. It's laughable. Since the last time that I tried to commit suicide in November to now, everything that I've been through, between hospital visits to losing part of my toe, to diabetic problems, to weight gain because of all the medications that I'm on, which I know I need to work on at some point, somehow. I need to get back on track with that. to losing family members, to gaining family members, to having members back in my life, to have them go away again, to almost losing another family member, to all my depression bouts, to losing a friend of mine to actual death, to having friends of mine trying to commit suicide, to so many people reaching out to me, let alone the last 3 in the last month, reaching out to me to help them find a reason to live because they're at their wits' end, to problems that come with that drummer guy, to problems in my own personal life, outside of what I talk about here. It's just laughable. And I don't even mean to laugh at it. But I guess just the way I can look at it is, there's actually 2 ways that I look at it. One, I'm so completely, utterly numb. I am trying so hard to find joy in my life, especially with the constant reminders that we never know when our time is up, unless we decided for ourselves through suicide, which I do not advocate. I will never advocate suicide, but we just don't know when our life is up. And with that, we never know when the halfway point of our life is. You could be at the halfway point of your life right now. The halfway point of your life might be 15, 20, 30 years from now. It could be 50, 60 years from now. Due to medical advancements, who knows? There's a lot of great advancements out there, as many deterrents to health problems as well. But we just never know. And you would think that that would make you want to live life more. And I want to. And kind of like how I start off the show with BoJack Horseman clips, because there's no better show on TV that takes a satirical look at mental health the way that BoJack does. But with me, having those clips on there, just like it says, I want to be happy, but I don't know how. What do you do when you get sad? And again, that answer's going to be different for everybody, and for me, even with all my accomplishments that I've done up to this point, and coming up with the 8th anniversary of that drummer guy, I still feel so empty. And to quote the title of this show, and to take it from the Baroness song, which I took the title from, I'd do anything to feel like I'm alive again. There are glimmers of times that I feel like I'm so happy. I can't believe I got to interview this person. I can't believe I've gotten to do this. I can't believe I've gotten to do that. But it never lasts. I notice for me that it usually ends within the hour. My enjoyment of what just happened ends. It's not something I try to do, but it is something that happens. It's usually an hour, and that hurts because it means that my joy is constantly fleeting as soon as that moment's gone. And I want to be able to find a way to keep that joy around. I want to be able to keep looking back on that stuff, make it have a smile on my face, and really appreciate those things. And it's not that I don't appreciate them. You can just look back at my whole interview catalog, my reviews, my shows, all of that stuff that I do as that drummer guy. And outside of a few exceptions, I am proud of every single thing that I've done. But it's hard to keep the joy, which hurts. And in my personal life, business life, family life, if that ever comes back, if I ever start my own, which honestly, given my family's backstory with mental health, I'm absolutely terrified of ever doing that. But that's a different topic for a different show, or at least a different episode. I'm constantly afraid of when my time's up, and it's really bringing me down, really hurting me. I've gone from wanting to end my life to not knowing how to appreciate life. Now, to some people, it would just be, well, you're alive, appreciate it. But that is not how mental health works. When you have mental health problems, it's not as simple as be happy. It's not as simple as go for a walk. It's not as simple as go eat something. It's not as simple as go see a friend. It's not as simple as go do something you love, because you're struggling. You're struggling hard. And when those moments get really dark, they hurt really, really bad. And some of you know what that's like. Some of you might feel depressed for other reasons, but you're able to snap out of it somehow, some way, quickly. For some people like me, when the depression gets really, really bad, you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to face the day. You can't stand to see the sun. You can't fathom looking at other people. Hearing other people laugh and have fun tears you apart because you feel like you can't do that yourself. And it's always going to hurt when you have those problems and you don't know what to do about it. But there are ways. And that brings things back around to how I'm going to end the show, getting back into talking about the people that I helped keep alive this past month. I am in no way going to claim that I am the sole reason these people are alive. Some have said that, and it couldn't possibly mean more to me that they feel that way. And even if I am a part of it, which I always try to do when someone reaches out to me, you gotta remember, just like me too, and it's advice I gotta take for myself, you stopped yourself from killing yourself. And maybe even if you tried doing it when other people were around and they stopped you, you didn't try again. You're still here. You're listening to the show. You're still here, which means that you are keeping yourself alive. Even if you don't feel like you want to be here, you are choosing life. You're choosing to live. And that's why I feel like it's so important. And again, advice, I need to take this advice. And hopefully it'll sink in, because I know it helped others in the past month. And it rings true. And I hinted at it at the back of the show, but back earlier. But we don't know when our time's coming. We don't know when the halfway point of our life is. You don't want to die miserable. How terrible would that be? With all that life can bring, all the good that there is amongst all of the bad, there can be good in there as well. We can strive for our goals, no matter how big, no matter how small. You work towards what's going to make you happy. And that's what you gotta do. That's what I gotta do. What is gonna make you happy? For me, it's self-confidence. Again, 600 interviews, 331 episodes of my version of my show, 8 years of That Drummer Guy. And I still feel like I'm nothing. I feel like I'm completely worthless at what I do, despite everyone telling me otherwise, that I contribute nothing, that I am nothing, and I never will amount to anything. A huge part of that is because it was trained into my brain so much that I am that way. And again, with trauma and PTSD and Stockholm Syndrome, it's what you get used to. And when it hits you so many times, when you're told something so many times, you start to believe it. Even if part of your mind knows better. But the point is, we're still here, which means that we still have the opportunity to be happy. We don't know how long that happiness is going to last. For me, like I said, when I do something I absolutely love, that love is gone within the hour of me finishing up. But that can change once I find what my real happiness will be. And for you, it's going to be something different. It could be getting a promotion at work. It could be finding a new love in your life. It could be getting a pet. It could be getting a new car or TV. It could be joining a new band if you're a musician. It could be a brand new career goal, like a new job, a new career. It could be moving. There's so many different things that it could be. And it's going to be different for everybody. But just as I've been trying to do over the past month, and again, it's not something that's a quick fix. You're not going to be able to figure it out right away. You might be able to figure out parts of it, but it's not going to come tomorrow, or by the end of the week. Hell, even by the end of the month. Possibly even the end of the year, depending on what your goals are. You need to look within yourself and think, what am I missing in my life? What are the emotions that I'm missing out of my life? What brings those positive emotions in my life? What can I do to keep those emotions around? Realistically, what can you do to make that happen? And jot those down. Or if you're like me, where you remember too much, store them in your head. What are the things that bring you joy in life? What do you look forward to every day, or every week, or every month, or once a year, whatever the case is. What brings you happiness? What brings you joy? And write them down. And then think to yourself, what things are there that I have? What are the things that bring you happiness that you already have? And you try to work on those every single day. You try to do those things every single day. But then also think to yourself, what are the things that I don't have? What are the things that would bring you happiness in life? Actual things. Things that matter to you. What will actually bring you happiness? What is something that you can strive to do that'll bring you joy? And you think about it. If you need to, write it down. Or store it in your head. And just think about it. And when you got it down, think about how to do it. How can you get there? What are the goals needed to obtain those big dreams, those big goals, the things that you want to strive to do, that you can say, yes, I accomplished this, I made this happen. What are those? Those goals. How to get to those goals. What do you need to get to those goals? What do you need to do to get to those steps to get to those goals? And work on it, little by little. And I actually used this example during the last time that someone reached out to me wanting to end their lives. Life is a house. Yourself is the foundation. The people around you, they're the walls. They're the floors. They're the ceilings. The things that you want in life, they're the things that you store within those walls, ceiling, and floors. Things on the outside, those can be the good or bad things outside that home. But the thing to remember is if you don't have a solid foundation, which is yourself, everything else will start to fall apart. And what you need to remember is you need to take care of yourself. There will be possibly others that want to make sure you're going to be okay. There are going to be people that will try to bring you down. There will be people who just do not care. But you need to work on you. You are so important in your own life. And so many people will put themselves last to make others happy. And yes, there are absolutely certain aspects, like if you have children, if you have people in medical need that you need to be there for, absolutely, I get it. But remember, if you don't have a solid foundation, the house falls apart. And that's true in your life. You are the foundation of your life. You decide what stands and what falls. And you need to make sure that your foundation is as strong as possible. You need to work on yourself. You need to find that happiness. And again, it's going to be unrealistic to have no negative feelings. Even if I obtain the happiness that I'm looking for in my life, I know I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be down. Depression's going to hit me again. Finding joy is not the cure for depression. Depression stays there. It's chemical. It can be caused by so many different things, but chemical imbalance is a huge part of it. So it's always going to be there. But how do you manage it? How do you deal with those emotions? How do you handle those emotions? What can you do to make sure that that foundation does not get destroyed? That's what matters. And when you're able to work on that foundation, you're able to build up those walls, that floor, that ceiling, and you're able to fill that house with everything that you want in life. I want to get there at some point, and I hope you do too. If you're listening to this, no matter what you've done in life, you still deserve to be happy. I know I do too. Despite so many people in my life that have warped my mind, living and dead, I know I deserve to be happy. And I'm going to do everything I can to get there one day. And if you're struggling like me, I want you to get there too. I really do. This is a one-way ticket. No matter what you believe in religiously, outer-worldly, whatever the case is, we do not know that there's anything on the other side. There's never been anyone in written history that has physically died long enough to see the other side and come back. Every single time that that's ever happened, it's because the mind is still alive. But if there is anything as a soul, and it goes to another plane of existence, if there's anything beyond this life, we don't know. So we have to make the most of this. Like I said before, one last time, we don't know when our life ends, and we don't know the halfway point of our life. Don't spend the end of your life miserable. Do everything you can to find happiness in life. I'm gonna do what I can, and I hope you will too. And on that note, let's end the show. Thank you so very much for tuning in to another episode of Something Gives. That went on way longer than I thought it was going to, but I had a lot of synapse going on, and I really wanted to focus on that positivity, despite there being so much negativity going on, and I appreciate you sticking around this long. Make sure to check out Something Gives on Facebook at facebook.com/somethinggivspodcast, thatgermanguy.com/something-gives, and of course, check out thatgermanguy.com for everything That German Guy, if you're so inclined. And until next time, possibly with a guest, possibly just going over with my life again. We'll see what happens in the future. This is Josh Ronquist saying, see ya. This has been Something Gives with Josh Ronquist. Tune in next time where we continue the discussion of mental health, music, and life in general. Make sure to check out all your favorite social media sites to follow what I do as Josh Ronquist and That Drummer Guy. And until next time, just remember,
it's always worth it. Hang in there, stay positive. It's worth the fight.
this show was not created by a medical professional. It was done by one man and his guests on the show talking about their struggles with mental illness. If you are having thoughts of suicide or in a state of distress, reaching out is the first step towards safety. Call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255 or text TALK to 741-741 to text with a trained crisis counselor from the crisis text line for free 24/7. If you know someone who may be at risk or struggling with depression or anxiety or any mental health issues, please follow everything in the description below to help those that are in need.